Welcome to the channel. I'm Mark Headley, and I welcome you to our next episode of the Scientology Spy Files. And in this series, we're going to cover the Tom Cruise Spy Files. In the documents that we are covering in this series, these are just some of the over 40,000 pages of internal Scientology documents that have been leaked. And all of the documents that we're going to cover in the video today are specifically targeting Tom Cruise. And in this next set of documents, they are they're talking about and they're investigating an author that is planning on writing a book about Tom Cruise by the name of Andrew Morton. And they're basically trying to figure out what he knows, who he's talked to, and how to and what the best way to sabotage his book is. As we've been doing in these documents recently, we're going to cover the key players in the documents just so you can get a little oriented to who these are going to and who's reading these documents and who's directing what get done and who the key players are. Okay, so here we go. Scientology Tom Cruise Spy Files, key players. Of course, we have David Miscavige, the chairman of the Board Religious Technology Center. You've got Tom Cruise, matinee idol. Shelley Miscavige, chairman of the board assistant. Kurt Wieland, and now this is all taking place in 2006. So these are all the key players that were involved in this in 2006, January of 2006. You got Kurt Wieland, who at the time was the COO Int. Paul Block, who was Tom Cruise's publicist. Mike Rinder, who is WDC OSA at this time. Bert Fields, who was Tom Cruise's lawyer. Andrew Morton, he's the author that it's being targeted in these documents. Mark Bunker, of all people, is in this document. Graham Barry, who's a lawyer that has fought a lot of cases against Scientology. Maybe the most one of the most successful lawyers that's brought in terms of number of cases that he's either settled or gotten something for the victims. I think Graham Barry might be the single highest rated Scientology lawyer in terms of winning against Scientology. Tori Chrisman, she's an ex-Scientologist that lives in Los Angeles. Michael Pattinson also was an ex-Scientologist at this time. I think he's since passed away. Corinne Powell, she's a Scientology spokeshole at the Office of Special Affairs, where all of these documents were leaked from. Tommy Davis, who is also a Scientology spokeshole, is the last key player. There's a few other people that might be mentioned here and there, but either they weren't that big of a deal in the document, or I couldn't find a picture of them. So those are the key players. Now let's get right into the document. This is a document from 22 January 2006, and it's coming from the Deputy Commanding Officer for External at the Office of Special Affairs International, and that title is called the DCO External OSA Int. It's being sent via the CO OSA Int, and that person has marked this off as okay in the soft copy in the document, and then it's being routed to WDC OSA. Likely David Miscavige had heard about this, or Tom Cruise had mentioned it to David Miscavige in a conversation, and it was being asked about, like, hey, what's the deal with this? And this is a report up on the book and the rumor or whatever is happening on this Tom Cruise book. Okay, so it says, Andrew Morton. Dear Sir, the rumor of Andrew Morton writing an unauthorized biography of Mr. Cruise has been circulating for a few months, and most recently an article came out in Grazia magazine in the UK that this book would be coming out in August. Sorry, people, if I butchered the pronunciation of that. I've never heard of that magazine, so I don't know how you say it. Okay, so then it says... we have been actively investigating Morton since his name first came up, and a summary of what has been found is attached at A. This covers his background and areas of vulnerability. Morton is best known for his biography of Princess Diana, which she cooperated with him on by supplying him tapes. This was his major success. His last book was on Posh and Beckham in 2003, which they took him to court on on, resulting in some changes, but the book did come out. A program has been written that includes the actions to derail the book, and this is attached. To investigate Morton off our ground, we are going to hire a freelance reporter, tabloid type, to dig up information similar to what has already been exposed in the UK press about him, i.e. his affairs, perversions, etc. The reporter will give us a mean to interview his enemies, his ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, past colleagues, etc. Concurrently, as the book is about Mr. Cruz, we are preparing a full briefing for Paul Block and Bert Fields to bring them up to speed on what we know Morton has done so far to get their input. Tom Davis will provide the data to each of them and set up for a conference call or a meeting to get their input and ideas in order to finalize a coordinated plan and work out actions they can take on their lines. At this point, we have no idea what they know about this matter and what comm lines they potentially have to deal with it. They may know the publisher, the agent, and would also know who Morton may speak to about Mr. Cruz. While this coordination takes place, we will be drafting a letter to come from the church to Morton's U.S. publisher pointing out that, as reported in the media, Morton has been going around claiming he is writing a book about Tom Cruise and Scientology. And, next page, and asserting that it is extremely difficult to get data out of the church, making the statement that, quote, compared to the Church of Scientology, writing about the royal family was a walk in Hyde Park, unquote, when he has not bothered to contact us in the first place. Further indicative that Morton is not interested in facts for his book in his selection of sources, each of them discredited, none of them having first-hand knowledge about Mr. Cruz or Scientology, and asking that no claims be made from these sources without the facts being gotten from us first. While the book is derailed and killed, such a letter will start the groundwork to cut out the in theta sources. In theta is a made-up word in Scientology that just means when you talk trash about Scientology and it upsets them. Anything upsetting to a Scientologist is considered en theta. At the same time, it is likely that it's the author and publisher's intention to create a controversy to boost interest in the book, so any letter will be written with this in mind. This is okay. Much love, Linda. And it says attached A, summary, and B, program. Okay, so the next tab is tab A, and there's a picture of Andrew Morton. It says 22 January 2006. In early September 2005, Mary Shaw received a tip from Debbie Mace, who was in Gaza, that Andrew Morton is writing a book on Scientology. Debbie Mace is just a real wealthy individual Scientologist that ran a bunch of Scientology schools and in the Los Angeles, and I think want to say in Florida as well. Okay, so Debbie Mace heard this from a contact of hers by the name of Hassan Yassan, who is friends with Morton. Yassan is a consultant for a Saudi prince. No further data was available from this line. And when they say this line or this source, it's usually a Scientologist who is located in a certain area that spies for them, or that's a friend of Scientology that spies for them, or it could even be somebody they pay to spy for them. In mid-October, Morton was found to be asking questions about Tom Cruise and chairman of the board, it says COB, that's David Miscavige, a couple of disaffected ex-Sea Org members who had been at the Gold Base. Okay, so he's talking to some ex-Sea Org members from the Gold Base. I wonder who those might have been. The persons interviewed were sworn to secrecy. However, a few days after this, an article appeared in Radar Online about a secret meeting between Morton, Paul Baresi, and Graham Barry in Venice, California. The three were photographed and, according to Radar, overheard to be lambasting the church as a totalitarian organization and comparing Cruz to Charles Lindbergh, the aviator and fascist sympathizer. In later media, this statement was attributed to Barry. Apparently, someone has been tracking Morton, taking photos of him to discredit him. This is based on the following. A. When he was in the midst of a lawsuit with the Beckhams in 2000 over a book he was getting ready to publish, someone tracked Morton, caught him arm in arm with a woman, not his wife, followed him for several days, and got compromising photographs that were then published in the tabloid press exposing his affair. In and about September of 2005, a photo of him with an unnamed blonde, not his wife, in New York was published, which was followed by the news that he and his wife had split up and would divorce. Shortly after this, he was photographed secretly meeting with Barry and Baresi in Venice. This article states that Morton is now located in New York. Okay, next page. Paul Baresi is a sometimes private investigator who used to work in porn movies. Graham Barry is an unemployed lawyer in Los Angeles who represented several people in suits against the church until being suspended from the bar for misuse of client funds. Both are gay and both have long-term hostilities against the church. Leaking data about a meeting between these two and Morton was clearly designed to get reaction from the church. It was only after the Radar Online story broke that a few days later Tori Chrisman revealed in a posting that Morton had been at her house for a party the previous weekend, which was confirmed. So that was by a spy. Tori's party had a number of people there who were obviously there because of Morton. Those who were included: Mark Bunker, Michael Pattinson, Alex Soroka, Bent Corden, Barbara Graham, John Dries, David Sweetland, Greg Stanton and his partner, Tom Paget, Suzanne Beaver, Hector Cordona, and Maureen Smith. On 9 November 2005, it was learned that Morton was a guest of Patricia Greenway in Tampa. Greenway was trying to set herself up as his research assistant, bragging that she has extensive knowledge of Mr. Cruz. And then it says, in parentheses, invented. Greenway complained that the things being said to him by people on ARS, Tori Christmas and Tom Paget, are not true. Greenway also said that Morton had spoken with Nancy Maney, who had directed him to the websites of David Turetsky and Michael Gormez. In January, it was reported in the gossip press that Morton had gone to Toronto to meet with people who knew Mr. Cruz from when he was there filming the movie Cocktail. The 9 January 2006 UK edition of Grazia reports that the book is expected out in August 2006. This is the first report of a publication date. On 19 January 2006, Morton went to the CCHR Museum. This is the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. This is one of the front groups that Scientology runs that attacks Scientology. He did not say more than a few minutes and would not speak with the staff. He was accompanied by a man who was later identified as Peter Alexander. And then it just has all of the background on Andrew, including where he went to school, all the newspapers he's worked at, the books, all these different books he's written, and a bunch of other nonsense they want to spread about him. Okay, then on the last page, it says other recent press on Morton. And then it's just talking about some different books, these things about this controversy that he's involved in. Publisher data. Okay, last page. Publisher data. Morton's U.S. publisher is St. Martin's Press of New York, which is part of Holtz Brink Publishers, owned by Verlagsgruppe George von Holzenbrink GmbH, a huge publisher located in Stuttgart. There is an ISBN number for Untitled Project for Andrew Morton on the St. Martin's Press site, and his editor is a woman at St. Martin's Press by the name of Hope Dillon. His UK publisher is Michael O'Mara, Andrew Morton's books, and then it says the following is a list of the books he has written. And then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books listed there. Okay, so this is tab B. It says confidential attorney-client privilege, January 23, 2006, Morton and Theta book handling. And then it says information. UK author Andrew Morton has been in the U.S. working on an unauthorized biography on Mr. Cruz that will also contain en theta on Scientology. He has been interviewing enemies of the church and is looking at making Scientology a large aspect of the book. Morton is well known, particularly in the UK, for his books on Princess Diana, which made him a millionaire. as well as for his books on other celebrities such as the Beckhams, Madonna, and Monica Lewinsky. However, Morton is also despised by many in the UK for exploiting Diana's death. Because of his book on Diana, he has become somewhat of a celebrity himself. In 2000, while in the midst of a court case over his book about the Beckhams, Morton was exposed as having a hypocrite in the press when he was photographed having an affair while pretending to be happily married for the previous 27 years. This past year, Morton sold his house in London, finally split up with his wife. His wife said he relocated to the US as he didn't feel appreciated in the UK. Working on this book, he has been in comm with ex-Scientologists and others who have been involved in Theta, such as Graham Barry, Paul Baresi, Tori Chrisman, Michael Pattinson, Tom Paget, Patricia Greenway, Mark Fisher, Karen Schless, Chuck Beatty. He has never made a contact with the church or Mr. Cruz's representatives. A background investigation on Morton is being done, and actions must be taken now to deal with this in Theta book. The key handlings will be A, hiring a journalist to overtly investigate Morton's personal life and sleazy journalism, and on the basis that he is researching a book about Morton. This will give us the ability to tear apart and investigate his background without tying directly back to ourselves. What? I'm going to read that again. This is insane, guys. This is craziness right here. This is why I do this. Okay. It says, the key handlings will be A, hiring a journalist to overtly investigate Morton's personal life and sleazy journalism, and on the basis that he is researching a book about Morton. This will give us the ability to tear apart and investigate his background without tying directly back to ourselves. Scientology. B, documenting that Morton's sources are lying and producing counter documentation so this can be used in any meeting with Morton or his publisher. C, directly confronting Morton and or the publisher with his lies. D, utilize Paul Block, that's Tom Cruise's publicist, and Burt Fields, Tom Cruise's lawyer, lines to assist in derailing the project. This is wild, guys. This is craziness. This is just a Tuesday in Scientology. Okay, now the way this is laid out, this is a Scientology program, and L. Ron Hubbard wrote policies on exactly how a Scientology program is to be written. So if we were making DVDs or we were making cassettes, we had programs and projects. They're all written in this exact same form, and they have almost all of them have the same kind of targets in the way they're laid out. They're very, very similar. Okay, so this is the start of the program. Purpose: to prevent an end Theta book from being created and used as a black PR weapon against the church and Mr. Cruz while getting out the truth about Scientology. Major targets. 1. Morton's book preempted by setting up a journalist to investigate Morton on the basis of researching a book about Morton's personal life and sleazy journalism, and digs into Morton's crimes, gets these exposed through the lines to the tabloids, and used to back him off. Okay, so that's another key thing I should say is Scientology has people that work with TMZ and the Inquirer, and they've got people to all those tabloids. So if they want to do a story about somebody that they want to dunk on, Scientology has a way to feed that to the tabloids with juicy stuff that the tabloids will run on that person. Usually their enemies. Number 2, Morton handled to either not do the book or publish one that is acceptable by dead agenting the lies he is being told by his sources. Dead agency is a tactic that L. Ron Hubbard refers to all throughout the operations of their spy network, the Guardian's Office, and now what's called Office of Special Affairs. And it's just to basically discredit anyone that's anything that anyone says bad about Scientology by just saying a ton of bad stuff about that person to create an agent that's dead. It's not any use and it won't have any effect on them. Primary targets. 1, take full responsibility for the execution of this program. And it says Invest Chief and the PR Chief, and these are both located within the Office of Special Affairs. Read and word clear this program, Invest Chief, PR Chief. Read and word clear PR series. Okay, read and word clear this program. Okay, so what that means is they have to read this whole program, and if there's any words they don't understand, they have to look them up in a dictionary and make sure that they understand them. So that's the second target after taking responsibility for the full execution of this program. Read and word clear PR Series 18 and HCOPL battle tactics. Okay, so what those are is there is a series of documents that L. Ron Hubbard wrote called the Public Relations Series, and it tells how to do public relations. That's a whole nother series. Anyway, and that's called the PR Series, Public Relations Series. And then that next one is an HCOPL, is a Hubbard Communications Office. That's the office that L. Ron Hubbard wrote his policies from. And so it's HCO, Hubbard Communications Office. PL is a policy letter. So HCOPL it's basically just a Hubbard policy. And the name of that is called Battle Tactics. And then the same guys have that target. Put together a budget for the investigation called for in this program and get this approved. Invest Chief. Obtain copies of Morton's other books and study these to see what sort of tactics he uses. Invest Chief. Study the data that has been collected on Morton. Invest Chief and PR Chief. Send regular reports on the actions taken and any new information obtained through the execution of these targets. Okay, so the Invest Chief is the one who likely has provided all of the information that's in this document. So David Miscavige says, hey, there's a book being written on Tom Cruise. You guys better either kill that thing or find out all about it. And then that goes to WDC OSA, that then goes to the CO OSA, that then goes to the DCO external, and then that's given to the investigations chief. And then the investigations chief rounds up all his info from his private investigators or these people that they have, their different lines to different spies and stuff like that. And then he creates a report, and those are the regular reports on the actions taken and any new information obtained through the execution of these targets. Okay, vital targets. Coordinate all actions so that nothing is done that could rebound on us publicly. Oops. And that's for the Invest Chief. Stay in close coordination with the public relations, with PR, with public relations for any actions being taken on their lines. Okay, because this is very key. Because OSA, the Office of Special Affairs, the Scientology's Dirty Tricks Department, they have different bureaus or different departments. So one of those is investigations, and then the other one is public relations. So the people that are dealing with the media and they're dealing with the TV shows and the newspapers and the celebrities, those are the public relations people. Those are not always the same as the investigations people. And the investigations people are their own little silo of digging up the dirt. Obviously, they're sharing that info with the public relations people because then they're feeding it to the tabloids or whatever. So, but they're two different invests and public relations, two different sections or departments of OSA there. Okay. Okay. Stay in close coordination with PR for any actions being taken on their lines. Invest Chief. Handle any slows on this program using standard debug tools. Okay, so, man, I'm getting deep in the weeds in Scientologyville. So debug, there is a whole set of policies written by L. Ron Hubbard that is called debug technology or debug tech. And so it's basically if there is a problem or something's not getting done, it's bugged and it needs to get debugged. It needs to get moving or opened up so that it happens. And I think the etymology of that is when they used to have telephone wires that were stretching or telegraph wires that were stretching across the country. And when they would not work, it was because there was bugs on them and they needed to debug them to get the lines moving again. Yeah. That's all this kind of stuff when you're in a crazy place called Scientology. Okay, Pukatiku. Maintain security and need to know at all times. Make sure OSA Network Order 60 legal approval is always in during the execution of this program. And I think this is basically something that was written so they don't get in trouble, that what they're doing has to go through a lawyer before it goes to the private investigators, so that it doesn't tie back to them, and it's not known that they're the ones orchestrating and coordinating all of these nefarious activities for Scientology. Take any actions needed in alignment with the purpose and major targets. 7, get a PR statement approved to be used in case of other media contacts asking about Morton's book. PR chief. Operating targets. 1, put together a briefing on Morton, the sources he has interviewed so far. Oh, I just want to say, all of those targets are those are targets that you always have to be doing. There's not really anything's getting done. It's just a setup. You got to do all this while you're now going to do the individual action items. And the action items are usually the operating targets. Okay, so 1, put together a briefing on Morton, the sources he has interviewed so far, basic dead agent on them, and what has been covered in the media. Include data on how his past books did. Get this to Bert Fields and Paul Block. Okay, and that's a target. And then the PR chief is responsible for that target. And the way that these go is that it's sort of like a divide and conquer. Here's the program. Everybody reads it. Everybody understands. Everybody asks any questions, gets anything sorted out. And now everybody has their marching orders. And then if they have people that they need to give marching orders to, or they need to get something to, everybody just does their thing. And it is supposed to run on sort of autopilot until there's no book, or the book comes out and it's all rainbows and unicorns for Scientology. Okay. Through Tommy Davis, find out from the Beckham's rep in the UK what actions they took on the book that Morton did on them, which they sued over, what was successful and unsuccessful. PR chief. Okay, so now this is also really kind of crazy, because Tom Cruise at this time, he's trying to get Tom and Posh into Scientology. And so Tommy Davis and Tom Cruise and Beckham's, they're all hanging out. So they have a line into the Beckham's folks to be able to see how they can maybe shut this down, or at least get it watered down a little bit. 3, confirm who Morton's publisher is and put together the background data on who the key people are and who owns the company. Invest chief. 4, and the reason they're going to do that is because they'll dig up dirt on those people. So if they're working with Morton and he doesn't play ball, they're just going to keep going until they can find dirt on somebody that will make this thing go away. If they have to dig up the dirt on the publisher, or the executive at the publisher company, or the person who owns the company, that's on the table as an action item, and that's just laid out right here. Okay. Confirm who the Morton's publisher is and put together the background data and who the key people are and who owns the company. Invest chief OSA. 4, coordinate the actions to be taken by Mr. Cruz's reps and from the church. As part of this coordination, determine what power comm lines exist to Morton or his publisher and how these can be put to use. PR chief. Okay, so now this one is like a good example of this is the Bert Fields Larry King connection. So Bert Fields is Tom Cruise's lawyer, but Bert Fields was best friends with Larry King, and Larry King was a popular TV show host in America for decades. And so that is, Scientology considers that to be a power comm line. Or maybe if one of their lawyers is married to some big muckety-muck in Washington, D.C. That's a power comm line. It's a communication line that has a lot of power. Okay, 5, compile the full DA data on Morton's sources, who these people are, and why they are not credible. And that is PROAP. I don't know what that is, but it's somebody in PR. 6, get a thorough power comm line search done to find connections to either Morton directly or his editor or publisher in the US and UK. Some of the resources are ASI and BPI. Okay, so ASI is Author Services, and they publish and are the literary agency for all of L. Ron Hubbard's fiction books. So they are printing millions of books in dozens of languages all over the world, and they spend a lot of money in the publishing industry. And the whole reason they do that is so they can kill books that have to do with Scientology that might be some of their buddies that are the publishing company or the printing houses or whatever is another avenue that they can stomp those people out. And so it says some of the resources are ASI and BPI. BPI is Bridge Publications International, and that is the organization run by Sea Org members in Scientology that does all of L. Ron Hubbard's Scientology books. So ASI is the company, the Scientology Sea Org unit that runs the fiction books, and BPI or Bridge Publications does all the Scientology or Dynetics books. Work out the best use for any found and put them to use. PR Chief. Wow, this is a long one. Okay, we got 2-3 more pages, so we'll keep going. 7, conditional. Get a letter written to the publisher taking up Morton's sources. Ask that the publisher/author inform us of these claims so they can be fully responded and disposed of. PR Chief. 8, get this letter approved and sent and work out the following follow-up contacts. PR Chief. 9, get the follow-up contacts to the publisher done to handle the black PR from Morton sources. PR Chief. 10, nail down where Morton is staying in the U.S. and where he stays when he comes to Los Angeles. Invest Chief. Okay, so now the way they do this is they hire private investigators to follow you. When you land at the airport, they're waiting for you. They can, because they have their own travel agency. Scientology has their own internal travel agency for booking tickets on airlines. And so they had, for many years when I was there, they had full access to all the airline databases, just as a travel agent would. And they can see who's on the plane. If you know the person's first and last name, you can figure out if they're on a plane or not. Okay. Get a full background invest done. Morton's girlfriend who lives in Toronto. Wow. So even the girlfriend is going to get some catch some shrapnel on this one. Number 12. Get surveillance done. How do they, I don't know. How do they even know her name and exactly where she lives? Get surveillance done on Morton to find out what he is doing, who he is in contact with, and what sort of activity he is involved in, similar to what he was doing in the UK. Invest Chief. Oh, by the way, all this tax-free, paid for by you. If you live in the United States and you pay taxes, you're the one paying for all this stuff that they do. Okay. 13, get special collections done. That means when they steal your garbage. When you, if you live in Los Angeles, or if you live in the United States, once you throw your garbage out, it's sort of in a limbo. Once it's in the garbage can, and I want to say out on the street, anybody who wants it can come and take it. What Scientology does is they hire private investigators, and when you roll your cans out and in the morning for trash day and then drive off to work, they just come up with their car and they take all the trash out of the dumpster and they put it in their car. If that's going to be too obvious and they want to do it surreptitiously, they just get a hold of the garbage truck and they say, hey, when you get to the green house, here's $50. I want that. You set that garbage aside. And then when they pull around the corner, you do a handoff and you just pull the garbage bags that they didn't crush or send into the smasher masher. And there's video of this happening. I'm pretty sure on Mike Rinder's channel, there is a video of a guy selling his garbage to a private investigator. Waste management. Okay. Get special collections done and get the strings pulled on who he is interviewing on the book and any other leads on criminal activity that he is involved with. Invest Chief. 14. Use the resource who has met Morton to find out all the data about who he is interviewing, what questions are being asked, and what he is looking for. Find out what his motivation is for writing the book and if this came about at the request of someone else. Invest Chief. Okay, now this is going to come up later but I'm just going to mention the name John Connolly. He is a very, very key player that comes to fruition in all of this. And I know this from personally speaking with Andrew Morton and literally convincing him that this guy right here, use the resource who has met Morton. This guy, John Connolly, knew Andrew Morton and was very good friends with him for years. And John Connolly was working for Scientology nearly the entire time that they were friends. Okay. Find out what his motivation is for writing the book and if this came about at the request of someone else. Invest Chief. 15. Establish a direct prediction line with Morton. Okay. That's kind of wild, right? Establish a direct prediction line with Morton. I don't know what that is, guys. If you guys know what that is, do bleepity bloop in the comments. A direct prediction line. That sounds like code for something. I'm assuming that just means a tail or a tracker. That's what that either means, a tail or a tracker to me. We might have to ask about this one. A direct prediction line. If I find out before I finish the editing and posting of this video, I'll put something down. Okay. Finish locating all of Morton's enemies in the UK so they can be interviewed. His ex-wife, girlfriend, and some of his other contacts have been located thus far. Invest Chief. 17. Concurrently with the data collection targets, finalize the writer who will work on a book about Morton while investigating him by getting interviews done on all his enemies, people who worked with him, his family, etc. Invest Chief. 18. Get funding arranged for this reporter and get him started using PRC research that has been done on his connections and others who are natural enemies. PRC is public records check. So Scientology has one of the most extensive databases that skip traces. It's a software program that scrubs the internet. So if they want to know something on somebody, they put in all the information they have, and the bots go to work and it digs up everything on this person. Any public record, I want to say, that exists digitally or connected to the internet, their software will find. So that's one of the reasons people can't get off their mailing list, is because if you move, they already know where your new address is before they're going to send another piece of mail to the old one. So it just auto updates. It's a multi-million-dollar software thing that they have there. Okay. 10. Get the journalist to investigate Morton by getting interviews done on all the people who have issues with Morton and would have information that would lead to documenting his crimes and other discreditable activities that he has been involved, including his ex-wife, Lynn Morton, his ex-mistress, Debbie G., the Beckhams, his daughters, they are adults, reporters who are rivals, any other persons he was going out to D. That just means having relations with somebody that you're not married to. Other natural enemies. Invest Chief. Guys, I mean, am I the only one that's like, this is insane? Okay. This is insane. Scientology. This is a Tuesday at Scientology. Someone's going to write a book. We have to destroy them. 20. Get the journalist to obtain copies of the photographs and videos that exists of his activities with Debbie G., which she talked about in the press. Invest Chief. 21. Through the journalist investigation of Morton, dig up his crimes and all discreditable activities. Invest Chief. 22. Using the lines to the UK tabloids, get Morton attacked and exposed in the press to discredit him off our grounds. Invest Chief. 23. Concurrently, get the UK PIs to get a 3P done with Morton's ex-wife and ensure that she gets as much from him as possible in the divorce to keep him tied up and distracted on this. Holy moly. Okay, this is amazing. Okay, so a 3P is called a third party. Now, Scientology loves a fight, especially if it's between their attackers, their people that are exposing them. If they can get those people to fight with each other, it's a good day in Scientology. So what they do is they get someone who will be friends, to become friends with Morton's ex-wife, and then she will stir that woman up and even possibly stumble upon information about Andrew and then feed it to the ex-wife, so that then the ex-wife gets more money and she gets more, all riled up or whatever. And they do this through private investigators. They also do it through Scientologists. That's how they do internet stuff, is they go on the forums and they create all these IDs. And then if somebody gets excited about something, they stir it up, and that's their 3P tactic. Okay, I'll do that one again. 23, concurrently, get the UK private investigators, PIs, to get a 3P done with Morton's ex-wife and ensure that she gets as much from him as possible in the divorce to keep him tied up and distracted on this. Invest chief. 24, get Morton's publishers surveyed as to love hates. Okay, we may have talked about this in the past. This is a very key thing. This is per the L. Ron Hubbard policy on how they do intelligence. They have to find out what the person loves, and they have to find out what the person hates. They try to take away anything that the person loves, and they try to give as much of what the person hates to that person. So get the Morton's publisher surveyed as to the love hates. Invest chief. 25, based on the love hates, work out actions that can be done to make use of these buttons to back away from publishing the book. Invest chief. 26, execute the actions with the publisher to get them to drop the book. Invest chief. Concurrently with the above actions, get 3P actions done to Morton about the sources that he has been using. This can be done by taking advantage of the infighting and jealousy that exists, such as between Greenway and Chrisman, Maney and Chrisman, etc. Invest chief. There you go. This can be done by taking advantage of the infighting and jealousy that exists. That's an OSA op all day long. If something doesn't make sense and you're like, why is that happening? Take advantage of the infighting and jealousy that exists, such as between Greenway and Christmas, Maney and Christmas, etc. Invest chief. That's a target on a program at OSA to take advantage of the infighting and the jealousy. 28, review all actions that have been done and retarget based on any opportunities that have been created. Invest chief, PR chief. 29, execute the targets worked out to prevent the book from getting published, or get one that is acceptable based on actions done to dead agent his sources, lies, and handling done on the publisher. Invest chief and PR chief. And then it just says invest chief and PR chief OSA int. Okay, so that's who actually wrote this program. That's at the very bottom. They wrote the program. They have all the targets on the program. And their production target is 1 June. Okay, it's 22 January. So they're basically giving themselves about 5-6 months to get this done. And yeah. Okay, so let's recap here for a sec. Okay, so there's rumors been circulating for a few months that a book's being written on Tom Cruise. Scientology wants to find out all about it. They find out all about it, and then they propose all of these targets to kill the book by shutting up this author or the publisher or whoever or however they can do it. Okay, now, this is the response to like, hey, what's happening with this book? Okay, there's another 10 documents that are coming in the next few weeks and months right after this. And they're going back and forth. They don't ever actually approve anything, but they're already doing it. They've already done a ton of stuff already, and nobody's approved anything. This is sort of just like this machine. If David Miscavige asks, what's up with this book by this guy, Andrew Morton, then a whole machine goes to work to find out everything and anything they can find out about this guy. And like I mentioned, that John Connolly guy, he's going to come up in these past documents. He, as well, I think has since passed away, John Connolly. I want to say the last time I spoke with Andrew Morton was, I think, around the time that John Connolly had passed. Anyway, there's another whole thing that's happening in here that's wild, is that they mention it in this document, where somebody else is doing the same thing we're doing to this Andrew Morton guy. And that is a wild, wild story. And as it comes up in the later documents, before we end off on this section, this Andrew Morton section of documents in the spy files, I will tell you the whole story that Andrew told me, that what was happening. But he actually had 2 sets of people spying on him, and they were running into each other. And they were like, there's a lot of info that's kind of out there right now. And it was because there was so much digging being done. And some people would be like, oh, I talked to your guy last week, and be like, we didn't have any. And it's like, oh, that was a different guy. So anyway, this is wild, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening on the podcast, you can go to the YouTube site if you want to see these documents, and you can just freeze frame them if you want to read them. But otherwise, yeah, until next time. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help support the channel, feel free to check out the merch store link in the description. We have Hail Xenu, Xenu is my homeboy, and BFG branded mouse pads, shirts, mugs, all sorts of other stuff in there that helps us to bring you new content on a regular basis. You can also pick up a copy of my book, Blown for Good, Behind the Iron Curtain of Scientology, in hardback, Kindle, and Audible versions as well. There's also a link to our podcast, and you can get that on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to watch another video, you can click on this link right here, or you can click on this one here, or you can click on the subscribe button right here. Thanks a lot. Until next time.